You're listening to the Simplified CEO, the podcast that shows you business does not have to be complicated. So grab a coffee, get comfy, and let's show you how you can get success in every area of your life the simpler way. Just before we jump into today's episode, I have to give today's sponsor a shout out. Now, you know here on Simplified CEO, we are all about the simple life in business. And I know one of the main areas every entrepreneur wishes was simpler was the bookkeeping. Well, it can be with today's sponsor, Xero. This is an accounting software I have used for years, and honestly, it's made it so easy for me to keep a track of everything. It automates manual tasks, meaning I'm not losing hours to admin, and it can be done from anywhere using their fantastic mobile app. So if you're looking for a simpler way to keep on top of your bookkeeping, go and check out Xero today using the link in the show notes below for a special offer. Now let's get back to today's episode. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Simplified CEO. I am your host, Claire Bartlett, and today I'm going to be sharing why overthinking is the enemy of your success. Now, let me guess, you've already got a successful business that hits that sweet 5-figure mark. But here's what's actually happening behind the scenes. You're lying awake at 2 a.m. running through scenarios in your head. You've got 17 tabs open on your browser, 3 different business strategy books on your bedside table, and you're still no closer to making that decision that you've been researching for 3 weeks. Maybe it's whether to launch that new service, hire that VA, or pivot your messaging. Maybe it's bigger. Should you restructure your entire business model? And whilst you're there, sat in analysis paralysis, your competitors are moving. Your opportunities are slipping away, and that 6-figure goal feels further away than ever. I know this because I asked you. I put up a poll in our Facebook community last week asking what's the biggest thing stopping you from scaling to 6 figures. And overwhelmingly, it wasn't lack of ideas, lack of passion, or even lack of market demand. It was this: I can't decide which direction to go. So here's the uncomfortable truth that successful CEOs know, but no one is saying loud enough. Your overthinking isn't protecting you from failure, it's guaranteeing it. Today, I'm sharing why overthinking has become the silent killer of small businesses. And more importantly, I'm walking you through the exact decision-making framework that's helped me and my clients break through that 5 to 6 figure ceiling without the mental exhaustion. Let me paint you a picture of what overthinking actually looks like in your day-to-day. It's not just sitting there pondering, though heaven knows we do enough of that. But it's opening your laptop with the intention of working on your business strategy and somehow ending up in a rabbit hole of competitor analysis for 4 hours. It's booking discovery calls, but then never actually launching the program because you're not 100% certain it's perfect. It is having a brilliant idea on Tuesday, researching it to death by Friday, and then talking yourself out of it by Monday because you've found 17 reasons it might not work. And here's what the science tells us about what is actually happening in your brain when you're stuck like this. Research shows that overthinking originates in the brain's prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for complex decision making and problem solving. When we overthink, our amygdala, the brain's emotional center, becomes hyperactive, triggering stress hormones and intensifying negative emotions. Essentially, your brain is flooding you with cortisol whilst you're sat there just trying to make a rational business decision. Too much thinking leads to paralysis by analysis, as Robert Herjavec puts it, and he is absolutely right. Studies have shown that high-pressure, anxiety-producing situations lead to lower performance on cognitively demanding tasks. The more we want to perform well, the more our performance actually suffers because anxiety and pressure generate distractions that take up space in our working memory. I had a client, Sarah, a brilliant woman, runs a very successful marketing consultancy. She was hitting like 80K last year and proper talented at what she does. But she came to me because she'd been planning to launch a group program for 8 months. 8 months. She'd had the market research, she'd done the competitive analysis, she'd got the pricing strategies, she'd even designed the workbooks. But she kept finding one more thing to research, one more expert to follow, one more course to take before she felt ready. And meanwhile, her business plateaued. Clients were asking for exactly what she wanted to offer, but she was so stuck in planning mode that she missed opportunity after opportunity. Here's what I learned from studying actual CEOs, not Instagram gurus, not business influencers, but proper CEOs running multi-million pound companies. They don't wait for perfect information. They can't afford to. Jeff Bezos, who built Amazon into one of the world's most valuable companies, operates on what he calls the 70% rule. He says most decisions should probably be made with somewhere around 70% of the information you wish you had. If you wait for 90%, in most cases, you're probably being slow. And Warren Buffett takes this even further. He says he's good if he makes 3 good decisions a year. 3. Meanwhile, Bezos says that he makes 3 good decisions a day. But here's the key, right? Neither of them are waiting for perfect information. When I was working in corporate all those years ago, before I built my business, I watched our CEO make a decision to enter a new market. We had only about 60% of the information that we ideally wanted. The research team were begging for another 3 months of market analysis, but she said something that stuck with me. We'll never have 100% certainty, but we've got enough to make an informed decision and we can course correct as we go. That decision generated 2.3 million in revenue in the first year. Not because it was perfect from day one. Trust me, we pivoted the strategy twice in those 12 months, but because she understood something that most 5-figure business owners don't. Action creates the clarity, not the other way around. And as Bezos puts it, you have to somehow make high quality, high velocity decisions because speed matters in business. Plus, a high velocity decision making environment is more fun. Real CEOs understand that being wrong but responsive is better than being slow and perfect. But let's talk about what overthinking is actually costing you because it's not just about missed opportunities, though obviously those are massive. But first, there's the opportunity cost. Because whilst you're spending 3 months perfecting your course outline, someone else has just launched theirs and captured your entire market. And I see this constantly with my clients. They're so worried about getting it wrong that they never get it out there at all. Overthinking ruins you. It ruins the situation. It twists things around. It makes you worry and just makes everything much worse than it actually is. Then there's the mental exhaustion. You know that feeling when you've spent an entire day working, but feel like you've achieved absolutely nothing? That's the cognitive load of overthinking. Research shows that our working memory gets overwhelmed when we're constantly processing the same information over and over. Your brain is literally running out of processing power, leaving you drained but no further forward. But here's the killer: overthinking actually makes you worse at making decisions. There's research showing that when we overanalyze, we start to doubt information that we previously were confident in. We second guess our instincts, which, by the way, got you to 5 figures in the first place. It is what researchers call that analysis paralysis. Brain becomes so overloaded with options and information that it essentially freezes. Then there's also the physical cost. Chronic overthinking triggers a stress response in your body, flooding it with cortisol and other stress hormones. And this doesn't just impair your mental clarity, it affects your physical health too. You know, you might find yourself lying awake at 2 a.m., your mind racing through scenarios that haven't even happened yet. I had another client who spent 6 weeks researching the perfect CRM system. She had spreadsheets comparing features. She'd watched every YouTube review. She'd even called 3 different sales teams. But by the end, she was more confused than when she'd started. You know what I told her? Pick one. Just pick one that feels right and get started. You can change it later. So she chose one. She implemented it in 2 days and it transformed her client management. Was it perfect? No, but it was infinitely better than the chaos that she'd been operating in while she was researching. It's as Tina Fey puts it, you can't be that kid standing at the top of the water slide overthinking it. You've just got to go down the chute. Here's the framework that I use with all of my clients who want to break through to six figures without burning out their brains. This isn't theory. This is what I've refined through working with hundreds of entrepreneurs who were stuck in analysis paralysis. Step one, you need to set a decision deadline and make it sacred. This is non-negotiable. You need to give yourself a specific time frame, usually about 48 hours for those smaller decisions or 1 week maximum for bigger ones. Write it down, put it in your calendar, tell someone about it. You need to make it real. Michelle Obama puts it perfectly. Sometimes you've just got to stop thinking so much and just do what makes you happy. But to do that, you need a deadline that forces action. Here's why this works. When you have unlimited time to decide, your brain will use all of it. It's called Parkinson's law. Work expands to fill the time available. But when you have a firm deadline, your brain stops looking for perfection and starts looking for good enough. I had a client who'd been deciding whether to hire her first VA for 4 months. I gave her 48 hours to decide. She actually ended up making that decision in 6 hours, hired someone brilliant, and that VA saved her 15 hours a week within the first month. Step two, gather your 70%, but only focus on what matters. Don't try to research everything. Ask yourself, what are the three most important pieces of information I need to make this decision? Not 17, three. Focus on market demand. Are people actually asking for this? Your capacity to deliver. Can you actually do this well? And basic financial viability. Will this make me money? That's it. And the science backs this up. Studies show that our working memory is limited. Think of it like your brain's RAM. When we overload it with too much information, our decision making actually gets worse. The Stanford brain imaging studies found that when people tried to be more creative by thinking harder, their prefrontal cortex became overactive and their creativity plummeted. Sometimes more information makes us less effective, not more. Step three, check in with your instincts because they're smarter than you think. Now, this is the bit that we often skip because we think business should be purely logical. But your instincts, that gut feeling, it's actually your brain processing patterns you're not consciously aware of. If something feels wrong, pay attention to that. And equally, if something feels right, but you can't articulate why, that's often your subconscious picking up on your signals your analytical mind has missed. I had another client who kept researching different pricing models for her course. The data was inconclusive, experts disagreed, and she was just going around in circles. So I asked her, if you just had to choose right now, what feels right? She immediately said 297. So that's what she went with, and it sold out in 3 days because her instincts knew her market better than all of that research. And step four, make the decision and then set review points because this is where the magic happens. You need to decide, then immediately schedule when you will review and potentially pivot. Because this isn't about making the perfect decision, it's about making a good decision quickly and then improving as you go. So schedule your first review point, whether that's in a month, 3 months, or 6 months. It depends on the decision. But this removes the pressure to be perfect because you know that you can adjust. It's like Jeff Bezos says, if you're good at course correcting, being wrong may be less costly than you think, whereas being slow is going to be expensive. Most decisions are reversible, two-way doors, not permanent one-way commitments. And I used this exact framework when I was deciding whether to launch this podcast. I gave myself 1 week to decide. I looked at three things. Were people asking for this? Yes. Could I deliver it well? Yes, I believed I could. And would it be profitable? Yes. So my gut said go for it. And I launched it, and it has become one of my main revenue streams. Was it perfect from day one? Absolutely not. I've tweaked the format, the name, and the content multiple times, but none of those improvements would have been possible if I'd never even started. And here's the mindset shift that separates 5-figure business owners from those 6-figure CEOs. You don't need to be right. You just need to be responsive. CEOs don't make perfect decisions. They make decisions quickly and then respond to the feedback. They iterate, they pivot, they improve. The market teaches them what works. But when you're overthinking, you're trying to predict and prevent every possible outcome before you start. And that's impossible and it's exhausting. Now, I want you to think about when you learnt to drive. Really think about this for a second because you didn't study the highway code for 6 months before you got in a car. You learnt the very basics and then you got behind the wheel with an instructor and learned through doing. But here's what's mental about this because driving is literally putting your life at risk. You're controlling a ton of metal at 30 miles an hour, surrounded by lots of other people doing the exact same thing. So the consequences of getting that wrong aren't just embarrassing, they're potentially life threatening. And yet you didn't wait until you had 100% knowledge before getting behind that wheel. You got your provisional license, you had a few lessons, and you started practicing. You made mistakes, we all did, but you corrected them and you kept going. Honestly, I'll never forget my reverse parking. Honestly, it was absolutely terrifying. And I was genuinely a liability to anybody in the near vicinity. My instructor used to grip the door handle so tightly, like his knuckles would go white. And I knocked over more cones in my lessons than I care to admit. And it took me 3 attempts to pass my test because of it. But here's the thing, I didn't stop driving because reverse parking was hard. I kept practicing, I listened to the feedback, I tweaked my approach, and now reverse parking is actually my go to parking method. I can squeeze into spaces that make my husband nervous. So, if you're willing to risk your actual life to learn to drive without having all the knowledge first, why are you so terrified of launching that new offer to your existing clients? The worst thing that happens isn't death. It's just you learn something. You can adjust and you try again. As Bruce Lee said, if you spend too much time thinking about a thing, you'll never get it done. Business is exactly the same. You learn by doing, not by thinking. The market is your driving instructor. It gives you feedback in real time so you can adjust and improve. So here's what I want you to do after this episode. Pick one decision that you have been overthinking, just one. It might be launching that new service, it might be hiring a team member, changing your pricing structure. But I want you to apply the framework, set your deadline, gather your 70% information, check your instincts, and then decide. Then you schedule your first review point. Whether that's in a month, 3 or 6, it depends on the decision. And here's the thing, when you start making decisions quickly and confidently, something magical happens. You build decision making muscle. Each good enough decision makes the next one easier. You start trusting yourself more. You become the CEO who moves quickly whilst others are still planning. Look, I get it. When you've built a successful 5-figure business, you feel like you've got something to lose and the stakes feel higher. But here's what I've learned from working with hundreds of entrepreneurs. Making this transition, the biggest risk isn't making the wrong decision. It's making no decision at all. Your business didn't get this far because you had all the answers. It got there because you took action, you learned from what happened, and you kept moving forward. 6 figures is just more of the same. Faster decisions, quicker pivots, and trusting yourself to figure it out as you go. The market is moving, your industry is evolving, and your competitors are making decisions whilst you're still researching. Don't let overthinking be the thing that keeps you stuck when you're this close to breaking through. Remember, you don't need to be right. You just need to be moving. And sometimes the best decision is simply deciding to decide. If this episode has resonated with you, honestly, I would love to hear about it. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it on your Instagram stories, tag me at cs_Bartlett so I can cheer you on. And if you're ready to stop overthinking and start scaling, but with the support of someone who's been exactly where you are, let's chat. I've got a few spots opening up in my private coaching program where we work together to get you from 5 to 6 figures without the mental exhaustion. You can find all of the details by messaging me on Instagram or my website, claire-bartlett.co.uk. And let's have a conversation about what's possible for your business. And until next week, remember, progress over perfection always. Now go make that decision that you've been putting off because your 6-figure business is waiting. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you are ready to make your life simpler, then don't forget to check out today's sponsor, Xero, the accounting software that is ready to supercharge your business by automating routine tasks, giving you quick access to your financial data, and helping you get paid up to twice as fast using their online invoice payments. So if you are ready for a simpler way to keep on top of your bookkeeping, go check out Xero today. Get their special offer using the link in the show notes below.